Alrighty, so tonight, for the first time this season, we have a bunch of midweek games that's gonna happen. Though what's kind of interesting is that usually I said it's a full slate of midweek action. Technically, it's not true. There is actually a good sizable team that are not playing this midweek. There is only 11 games that's gonna happen this midweek, and I say it sounds like there's not a lot of games. 11 games is still a lot, especially when we talk about the 7:30 p.m. Eastern start. There's 6 games that start at the same time. And at one point, there's going to be 8 games that's going to happen at the same time. It's always tough when it comes to trying to keep up with these midweek games. This is why I usually either ground hop or maybe go to a San Jose Earthquakes game. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing later tonight as well. But let's begin by talking about the 7:30 p.m. Eastern start. There's 6 of them, starting off with Columbus versus the LA Galaxy. So Columbus 1-3-4, and obviously they're still not playing relatively well, but that's mainly because of the fact that I've said it. It feels like their season is done. I mean, I know we're only 8 games into the season, and you shouldn't be calling a team that's done, even though we're not even a quarter into the season, but we're pretty close to getting to that point. But when you look at the state that this Columbus Crew team is in, yeah, they need some major signings in the summer transfer window if they want to get themselves back in contention. They're going the wrong way against a Galaxy side that, yeah, they're kind of heading the right direction. It feels like the Galaxy are starting to play much better in these last couple of games after just such another slow start like they did last season. They have a 2-3-3 record. Head-to-head meeting 6-2-4 in favor of the Galaxy, and yeah, we'll see what the Galaxy will do in this one. They've been playing on the road for the last couple of games. I think this is the third straight road games that they play so far. So yeah, they haven't played a lot of home games, but that's mainly because they did play a lot of home games to begin the season. So yeah, now they're gonna have to be on the road, but they have a chance to make a back-to-back road wins and doing this mini free game road trip. They could have a chance to get 7 points, which is something that consider the start of the Galaxy this season. I think Galaxy fans will absolutely take it, and there's a chance they will do it against a Columbus Crew team that it's hard to believe, but they have yet to win at home this season. They've only scored 1 goal so far this season, and that came in the last home game against Orlando City. Now, moving on, we got NYCFC versus FC Cincinnati. So for NYCFC, yeah, things are not going well for this team. After a positive start to the season, it feels like they're going the wrong direction, and they're facing against a Cincinnati side that, as I said, as things are not looking well for Pat Nolan's side. This is probably the toughest um, start for Pat Nolan's side team in the 3 years that he's coaching this team. But I will say that if there is one positive you could say about this FC Cincinnati side is the fact that they have shown a lot of heart. There are times where yes, the defensive quality not only is not there, but it's been a major issue. But at least the attack has kind of picked up the slack. The last game was a great example of it. They were down 3-1. You could have easily say that they could just fold it, but they didn't. They fought hard in that one, and they'll have to do it again in this one against an NYCFC team that, yeah. Normally I say when they're playing at home, they should get the win, but lately that just haven't been the case, especially against teams that are not doing very well. Last season, there was that narrative of the fact that for whatever reason, NYCFC, when they play against good teams, especially at home, they always get the free points, but when they do play against some easy team, they underestimate them, and next thing you know, they somehow lose to them. So they better not underestimate the Cincinnati side. As bad as this defense is, this Cincinnati side, especially with Vander, he seems like he woke up after in the last game where that was probably the best game Dave Vander had played this season, and a big part of why he really woke up is that he finally scored a goal. As the old saying goes, goals definitely can give players a lot of confidence, even if it's from the penalty spot. Head-to-head meeting 10-3-6 in favor of NYCFC. So yeah, let's see how this game is going to go on. Let's see if NYCFC can finally get themselves back to where they were earlier this season, which they look good early in the season. It just haven't been that way. And for Cincinnati, they can get another win. They're still in the thick of things. I mean, yes, there's a lot of problem on the defensive end, but at least they're in a better situation than where what the other Ohio team is in. I mean, when it comes to hell Israel and Ohio, it feels like this season is kind of the case for both Ohio teams, but at least Cincinnati is slightly in a little better position than what Columbus is dealing with right now. Now, looking at the other New York team, they're involved in the Atlantic Cup between the Red Bulls and DC United. So the Red Bulls has been very inconsistent. This team has been kind of a mystery box, and it's not a big surprise because when you start a lot of youngster, as Michael Bradley has done, you're gonna get some unexpected thing that has happened. I mean, I say yesterday that with RSL that maybe is an exception because right now RSL is just playing out of their mind, but that will happen when you play young players. They're gonna have games where they're gonna be good, and there's games that they're not gonna be that good, and I'm pretty sure that they're very happy the fact that they're done with Montreal because that team seems like it's a house of horror for them this season. Now they're facing against a DC team that, yeah, let's just say that this DC team has not been great whatsoever. It's been kind of expected. We knew this team was going to be bad. They're heading to that direction with a 2-2-4 record. Head-to-head meeting 23-13-11 in favor of the New York Red Bulls in this Atlantic Cup. So yeah, all signs are pointing the Red Bulls should get the win in this one. But again, when it comes to playing against bad opponents, the Red Bulls have had their struggle. Again, the Montreal all games that they have, those two games, that's definitely shows it. So yeah, we'll see how this game will turn out for the Red Bulls against their hated rival. When this rivalry was a big rivalry, it's kind of sad to see how this rivalry has really fallen, similar to what we see with the Cali Clasico as well. Now, moving on, we got Orlando versus Charlotte FC. So Orlando, yeah, talk about bad team. There's a lot of bad teams that are playing this week, and Orlando City is one of those teams. 1-1-6. It's been a disastrous season. They're actually now had the wooden spoon spot in the Eastern Conference, facing against a Charlotte team that have a 4-2-2 record. Orlando does have leading 5-5-2 is the head-to-head meeting, so at least they have that going for them. But yeah, against a Charlotte team that, again, I really want to take the Charlotte team seriously, and I know Charlotte fans are mad the fact that I'm not taking this team seriously. But just something tells me the fact that one, this team has been going for a pretty easy schedule, and two, it's been very unconvincing in terms of some of the resort that they have. They don't look like a team that I think will scare a lot of people if the playoffs start today, even though they're high up in the standings. And this game, if they can win this game, great. For them taking advantage of teams that they should beat. But again, it doesn't really is something that you say that will send a message to the rest of the league that, yeah, we are for real. We can definitely compete with the likes of Inter Miami and Nashville SC. I mean, if there one thing I will say this season is that the East is much weaker than what I thought it was going to be. I mean, remember how I always say the East is kind of like a bloodbath of all these good teams? Well, these good teams that we've seen in the past, most of them have kind of faltered this season. So as a result, the East is definitely much weaker. I mean, it feels like this season it's now the West that looks like a bloodbath kind of division with so many good teams in the West right now, and that, yeah, as a result, the East is kind of have their trouble, and it also kind of shows when you look at the East interconference matchup. The East has had a lot of problems with these interconference matchup. A lot of Eastern Conference team has not done well and not able to get a win over their Western Conference opponent. So yeah, that kind of just shows you what's kind of also interesting is that when I look at this match week, I don't believe. Well, actually, no, that's not true. There is one interconference matchup, and it's a pretty big one as well. But yeah, besides that, there's only one interconference matchup. There isn't as much as we see these last couple of weeks. I guess that's what happened when there's a lot of them that happen in the first couple of weeks. I mean, there was at times where for a full match we had like 6 or 7 of them. They're almost half of the match we were interconference matchup. Now, moving on, we got Toronto versus the Philadelphia Union. So, as I said before with Toronto games in the past couple of times, if you want to watch chaos and you want to watch classic MLS after dark, or in the case of Toronto playing mostly in the daytime because of the construction that they have to get ready for the World Cup then yeah, you gotta tune into a Toronto game because every TFC games are absolutely nuts. It's no longer about the fact that you should tune in the 80th minute because they always tend to create some chaos in the last 10 minutes of the game. You just tune in the whole game because the fact that it's been crazy to see how these TFC games have just gone completely off the rails, which is kind of crazy to say because last season this was not the case. I mean, this was considered to be one of the more boring teams to watch last season with all those 1-1 draw, but this season it's been the opposite. It's been fireworks left, right, and center. Now, I'm not quite sure will this happen against a Union team that is still struggling just 4 goals and have a 1-1-6 record. All-time meaning 14-9 and 12 in favor of Toronto FC. So you would say that, for Toronto, with the way that they are now in the second half of this 9-game home stretch, and I really think when you look at this 9-game home stretch, and I might even do a video talking about this 9-game home stretch that TFC has had, whether it's been a satisfying kind of home stretch. I would say no. I really think that it's been a. I would say if I had to grade it, I would give it maybe a C or a C plus, because yes, they have got wins during this home stretch, which they desperately needed. You do not want to go for a 9-game home stretch where you only win like 2 or 3 home games. But there's been multiple times where they let games slip out of their fingers during this 9-game home stretch, and that's why it's so frustrating if you're a Toronto FC fan, because if you don't take advantage of this 9-game home stretch, even though they are pretty good right now in terms of the standings, right now above the red line, it's kind of misleading, like Charlotte cases where yes, they are in the midst of this long home stretch, but now when the second half of the season begin, when they're going to be on the road a lot in the second half of the season, we don't know how they will do when they be on the road, especially whenever you're a team that have to go on the road for a long stretch of period. That always is gonna be something that will really be a challenge in many ways as well. So as much as TFC is having a good season on paper, they have a pretty respectable record considered the things that they've gone through in the last couple of years. I just think that if they want to be a playoff contender by the end, they have to win more home games. They have to build up both to this point, because if they don't, once they go into that road stretch, I wouldn't be surprised that's when the losing streak could start. Because when you're on the road for so long, it can be real, not only really challenging, but also that's what I don't trust the fact that this is a TFC team that can definitely go on the road and able to get big result as a result. Now, moving on, we got Atlanta versus New England. So this game actually starts a little bit later than the rest of the game because it's an FS1 game. It's kind of weird that this is the FS1 game because, yeah, I mean, New England has definitely played much better. A big part of it is because they're following the classic formula of win your home games, get result on the road, and take care of business against team that you should beat. And this is another opportunity for New England. They have done very well this season when it comes to taking advantage of playing against easy team. Now, some of these performances they play, have they been pretty? Has they been A plus kind of performance? No, it hasn't. Some of those wins that they have, it's been kind of grind out kind of resort. But for a team that is like TFC trying to get themselves back to a playoff contention, they'll take it. I think New England fans would take the fact that they are above the red line and are able to get some good result. And that's considered the start of the season. It was not a great start of the season for this New England Revolution side. Now for Atlanta, as I said, it's been a disaster right now, and I mentioned before, this is another team that you can maybe already stick a fork in them, even though we're only 8 games into the season, because there's just nothing on this team that inspired me to say that yeah, things are gonna turn around. Even if they win this game, I think a lot of Atlanta fans will say, yeah, it's great that we won this game and we look good, but I've been falling into this too many times. There's really started to become a bit of an apathy kind of feeling in the Atlanta United fan base. The fact that they don't even care the fact that if the team win, because at the end of the day, it's not really going to solve the ultimate issue with this team, which is this team is in the same problem that doomed Toronto FC, and is kind of the reason why TFC is in the stage that they are, which is a team that have had out bad contract, make some bad signings in the past, and now are stuck with it and are in an impossible situation to try to get out of it, and it will take years to do so. This is not an overnight project. I think Atlanta has to fix to get itself back to competitive. It's gonna take a whole full deep rebuild. It's gonna also probably take a complete nuke that is dropped in this roster, and before they can get themselves back up to competitiveness, yeah, they have to do that first, and it's not easy to do so, especially in a salary cap league. Now, let's move on to the two 8:30 p.m. Eastern starts, starting off with Dallas and Minnesota. So, as I mentioned with Dallas, on paper they look like a good team. On paper, you could say that if they start the playoffs started today, I could say this is kind of a dark horse team because they have been able to get resort and play some great brand of soccer. Problem for Dallas is the fact that they've drawn way too many times this season. And again, as I always say, I just feel like as good as Dallas have looked at times, there's just something that is off about this team. There's just something that makes me kind of feel like there's a reason why they're still not in the upper echelon right now in the league, and a big part of it is the fact that the style that Peter Quill has. While it's a very entertaining brand of style, it also means that the defense are getting worked up more times or not, and there's been times where these defense have been pretty poor this season. Now they're facing against a Minnesota side that, as I said, for Minnesota, what a difference it make after that 6-0 beatdown that they suffer, and the fact that I know normally I don't want to see a team suffer a big beatdown like that, but sometimes that could be a good thing because sometimes you can be bring together as a group and just kind of almost look yourself in the mirror and saying that we're better than this. There's no way we can be do like this, and especially with the way that Cam Knowles is a guy that is known to motivate his team. He's very good, does a good job to rally the troops even in the lowest moment, which was that 6-0 beatdown that they suffered against Vancouver. Yeah, ever since that, they have been unbeaten in all competition. They have won 4 out of the last 5 games in all competition. They haven't lost a game since the 6-0 beatdown. They also won 3 in a row as well. It's been a while since that has happened for this Minnesota team as well. So there's a lot of confidence that this Loons team are playing. Now, are they playing some of the best brand of soccer? Somewhat. I mean, there's times where this team is very entertaining to watch, especially with the way that I think we're starting to see it a little bit. That Cam Knowles finally started to make this team be more of a possession kind of team and built out of the back. They don't heavily rely on set piece anymore, and also long throwing. We haven't even seen a lot of those set piece and long throwing go like what we saw last year under Aaron Ramsey. Like I feel like it was a regular occurrence. They're more of a started to become a little bit of a normal team. Yes, there are times where they kind of fell back to old habits, and that's just defend deep and try to make themselves are as tough as possible to get all 3 points. But there is progress that I'm starting seeing with Cam Knowles' team, and we'll see whether or not that continue against this Dallas team. That, like I said, on paper, I do feel like this Dallas team is better than what their record is. But the problem is they just drawn way too many games so far this season. But in terms of head-to-head meeting, 8-6-7 in favor of Minnesota as well. By the way, last time when Minnesota played against Dallas, I was at that game on 4th of July. Minnesota won that game as well. So yeah, they have a good history. At least be able to go on the road and get a win in Texas as well. Now, moving on, sticking in Texas, going a little south now, we got the Houston Dynamo versus San Diego. So for the Houston Dynamo, they got a much needed win in the last game. They had to get that win against Orlando to kind of get themselves feeling a little bit better, and certainly for Ben Olsen, a little job security after that win because the writings would look like it was on the wall in that game. Now they're facing against a San Diego side that is kind of in a free fall in these last couple of games, and that is something I don't think we usually associate with San Diego, but this is probably the toughest stretch that they've ever gone in their first 2 years in their existence. Things are just not looking well for the San Diego team. And a big part of it, their defense is absolutely horrendous in doing this winless run. I mean, a big part of why their defense is bad is the fact that playing out of the back is no longer the strength of this team. It's become a huge liability to this team. With all the goals that you've seen that they gave up doing this winless run, it's come because of bad mistake either on the defensive side or in the case of last game where Duran Ferri just pretty much gifted a goal to Diego Luna in the first couple of minutes. Yeah, this is kind of the reality that San Diego is right now. Now, in terms of all-time meeting, 1-0-1 is the all-time meeting. Remember, last time when both of these teams play against each other, I think it was at Snapdragon Stadium. It was absolutely firework as well. And I think last time when they played, when it was at Shell Energy Stadium, it was also a firework game as well. So this is kind of a game that has shown that there's been some fireworks. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if that might be the case again. I mean, some of these San Diego game has to be sure a lot of goals, although not in a good way because they're the one that are giving up the goals. But hey, if you're neutral and you want to see some goals that's being scored, maybe this might be a game that you might want to tune in. And now watch how I said that, and guess what? Every time I said that there's a game that has a lot of goals, it always seems like it's the opposite. Now, that being said, speaking of a game that has a lot of goals, it's going to be one of them. I know, I know, I'm just becoming a huge hypocrite, and I just contradict myself by saying that I shouldn't say it. But I mean, it's hard to not say it when you have an RSL versus Inter Miami matchup. This is definitely a marquee matchup. This might be the best matchup out of all of these games. I mean, when you look at some of these games this week, yes, you have the Atlantic Cup that is, you got a rivalry game there, but most of these games are kind of like uh, it's just it's not really the kind of marquee matchup and matchup between two really good team facing off against each other. This one is definitely is, and although I know RSL is currently fifth in the Western Conference, remember they do have a game in hand. If they do win that game in hand, they would be among the top four and the top three of the Western Conference right now, and they're playing with all a lot of confidence. I mean, this young RSL team, they are just playing house money in the last couple of games with how good they've been playing. Now they're facing against an Inter Miami team that I talk about records can be very deceiving. Inter Miami is another example of it, and I know that might upset some Inter Miami fans, but you look at the resort that Inter Miami has played. Yes, they're second in the league. Yes, they have been able to get wins as well, but I think the main issue for this Inter Miami team and why their record is deceiving is the same that I said about San Diego. Their defense is absolutely horrendous. I mean, their defense is holding this team back. Even in the last game against Colorado, if it wasn't for Lionel Messi decided to do his usual goal kind of thing, this team would be 3-4-1 right now, and that's where we might talk about a different headline. The fact that this is now three straight draw that Inter Miami has suffered. This is now one win in the last six games that this Inter Miami team has had, and just things are not looking good right now with this team, and they need to be sharp in this one because, like I say, RSO is no joke right now. They are a team that is playing with a lot of confidence. They're not going to be scared of Inter Miami. I don't think There's always that talk about Inter Miami maybe putting the fear factor to every single team. I don't think that's the case anymore. Even with Messi being there, yes, you do still kind of have to fear him because he can do some magical moment out of the blue. But I don't think there's a lot of fear factor. You got to say when you're trying to score goals on this team because, like I said, their defense is just wide open right now. I mean, it is pretty dying to see how bad their defense is, and it's the same problem that they had last year as well. A team that is very good on the attacking end, but at the back, it is a huge liability. So we'll see whether or not if RSL can capitalize it. I'm assuming they could because this is a team that has been able to score a lot of goals. Though I also wouldn't be surprised somehow in some way Miami will pull off a victory out of the blue. I feel like Inter Miami in some way, to use an NFL quote, they're kind of like the Denver Broncos of last year and also the Kansas City Chiefs as the previous year as well. They're basically using Deus Ex Machina when it comes to some of these wins that they pull out that are just complete devil magic kind of win, and that's why they're up there where they are in the standings, and it's getting to a point where eventually these Deus Ex Machina kind of move is gonna have to come to an end. There's no way that this is sustainable for this Inter Miami team, and this is also kind of the reason why now a lot of people are saying that at this stage right now, unless if they continue that Deus Ex Machina, some devil magic way to brute force a win, I don't see this team being a contender with the way how they've been playing and with how liable that defense is. Don't think this is a team that is anywhere close to being a chance to defend their MLS crown. Now, moving on, we got LAFC versus the Colorado Rapids. So yeah, LAFC must be very upset after what happened in the last game. I mean, they really got punched in the mouth, and then some. Like we haven't seen them really do at their home stadium, getting absolutely blitzed by the San Jose Earthquakes in that one. And now let's see how they respond against a Rapids team that is having a pretty good season so far. Yes, they did lose their last game, but I thought they were the better team in that game against Miami. They were very unlucky. If it wasn't for Messi making some magical moment, they would have at least got a point out of this game. But now they are in the toughest part of their schedule, and this is where for Matt Wells' team, as good as the season has gone, let's see how they'll do now that they're facing against some tough opponent, and especially against an LAFC team that I have a feeling this team is going to play angry. I have a feeling after that 4-1 beatdown that they suffer in the hands of the San Jose Earthquakes, I'm pretty sure Mark Dos Santos is not happy with his team, and I'm pretty sure this team is not happy of themselves the way that they play. So they're definitely gonna play angry in this one. So that's kind of bad news for the Colorado Rapids, and especially the Rapids. As good as this season has been so far, the biggest issue for this team has been on the road. They haven't done very well on the road this season. I mean, most of the wins that they've got has been coming from their home stadium, and knowing the fact that they're heading to a place where it's also been a house of horror for the Colorado Rapids. I don't think the Colorado Rapids have ever gotten a win on the road against LAFC at BMO Stadium, and knowing the fact that I would be shocked if LAFC once again suffer the same problem as they did in the last game. Even though I know the fatigue level is started to be there on this team, I think this team is gonna bounce back in this one. I feel like you rarely see this LAFC team drop back to back home games and get punched in the mouth like that. So yeah, we'll see how this game, of course, will turns out, and especially LAFC know that they're playing against an opponent that they usually do win at home as well, judging by history. I think they're gonna looking to try to continue that ownage as well. Now, moving on into the game that I'm going to, and this is the last game I'm going to talk about, is the San Jose Earthquakes versus Austin FC. So, on paper, this looks like it's an easy win for the Quakes. This looks like it's easy for 3 points, especially now that they're heading to the easiest part of the schedule, just like what they did in the first two game playing against a couple of teams that are kind of either hovering above the red line or below the red line right now. However, I do think that this game is going to be similar to what I said about the Sporting KC road game. This could easily be a trap game for the San Jose Earthquakes. And the reason why I say it's a trap game is one, after that big win that they had against LAFC, and they actually have a shorter turnaround compared to most of these teams because they play on Sunday. That is, but after such an emotional win that they had against LAFC, that is arguably one of the best win I've seen the Quakes have had in franchise history, and really might be the best win that they had in a very long time in these last couple of years. How are you going to keep that up against a lesser opponent, and that it is very easy for the Quakes to overlook Austin in this game. Yes, I know Austin is not playing well right now, and I know this is even tougher for Austin. We talk about the Quakes have a bit of a short turnaround. For Austin, even though they don't have that short turnaround, the problem for Austin is that they just played Toronto FC on Saturday. So now they have to travel all the way across the other side of the country on a short week. Usually, when I see that happen, that could be a bit of an issue for teams to able to stay sharp. But even then, I'm think that coming into this game, I'm gonna be very fascinated to see how the Quakes would do in this one, and whether if they can keep up that same intensity as well. I'm assuming they will, because every single game they have shown that intensity. The thing about Bruce Arena is that not only he is cooking a gourmet meal right now this season, but he's not letting his team to just kind of get carried away. Even in the game that they beat against LAFC, Bruce Arena did his kind of typical Bruce Arena thing and saying, yeah, it's a good win, but we don't really. It's just another win. It's just another win in the regular season. We're moving already thinking about the next game. We're not really going to think about these big games until we get to August and September and closer to playoff time. That's why I love Bruce Arena so much. That's I think that's also kind of the reason why this group hasn't really kind of fall into that typical trap and haven't had that bit of a letdown, because I think Bruce Arena will definitely remind his squad that after that big LAFC win, and that's only one game, and that they have to do a quick turnaround. They have to immediately focus on this one and not let their foot off the gas. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how this is going to do, especially with the way that there's been a lot of draws in this matchup. 3-7-2 is the head-to-head meetings. The Quakes have yet to draw a game so far this season. Austin have a lot of draws in this one. 4 draws already this season as well, and that include the crazy game that they were involved against Toronto FC. Imagine saying Toronto versus Austin game was a crazy game, considering both of those teams were among the worst offensive team last season as well. So yeah, this should be very interesting to see. I'm very fascinated to see how the Quakes will respond on a short week, and especially coming off of such a emotional win that they had in the last game. Will they fall into that typical trap of having a letdown down in this game against a lesser opponent? But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at all of these games from match week number nine. Well, technically it's a midweek action, but I'm gonna call it match week number 9 because I think MLS is gonna say the weekend's action is pretty much match week number 10. That is. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below your prediction for all of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.